Hello, everyone. This is Cynthia Gardner O'Neill, the founder of the Center for Loving Consciousness and the courses and programs of Harmonic Harmonized Life. Today, I'm here with my co-host, V-Lynn Hawkins, and our guest today is Aileen Boundy of How to Live on Purpose. No, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. Align with your purpose. Where we have, the purpose thing is so important for us to learn about. So we've had a couple of opportunities here to talk to her about aligning with your purpose. So also with my co-host, V-Lynn Hawkins, who is here to introduce herself, and I'm going to let her just take it away now.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm
for a little bit.
So happy to be here, and I'm still moving through this, whatever has tried to capture my voice. But you know, God is good, and His grace has allowed me to still be able to show up and play full out and be heard. And I'm so grateful for that, because I would not have wanted to miss this show for the world with Aileen Boundy. Hi, everybody. I'm V-Lynn Hawkins. I'm the founder and dean of the P3 Academy of Social Entrepreneurship, where we help entrepreneurs add the social component to their business to be able to increase in all aspects, and in doing more business, doing bigger business, do more good in the world. And again, I am so grateful to be here today to talk about something that's very in alignment and purposeful for me, which is getting on purpose. And I think that for me, in identifying where I have been off purpose, I've identified a few things that have helped me to get on and stay on my path to purpose. So I'm so happy to introduce Aileen Boundy, who is the founder and creator of Align with Your Purpose and Your Path to Purpose. And Aileen, hi, welcome.
Hi, Lynn. Oh, thank you so much for having me on here. And my goodness, you are a fantastic example of just, the sort of person who walks through these challenges that life throws in front of her. Bless you. I hope your voice gets a lot better very quickly, and that we don't sort of over-exercise you today. We'll try, Cynthia and I will try and do the talking maybe, but obviously I love to have your input. And, even though your voice is not 100%, obviously, it's just lovely to have that, your presence here, and feel that, your contribution as part of what you and Cynthia are doing on these heart ventures. That's fantastic. So I'm Aileen Boundy, founder of Align with Your Purpose, which is really it's there to help you get clear about your life purpose. I have this idea that if people are only clearer about their life purpose and able to live in alignment with it, then consciously and deliberately, then their lives will improve, and your life will improve. You'll be happier because you'll be doing things that aren't in conflict with who you truly are and what you stand for and all that kind of thing. So I'm very happy to be here today to be talking with both of you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, you want to go ahead, Lynn? Let her have the voice she has here.
It's so great to have you here, Aileen, because I know that this is one of the things that people struggle with so much. And until we get to the point where we actually identify what is in alignment with our heart and in alignment with what we know our mind's eye sees as the reason that we're here. I love the way you say, help you get clear why you're here, why you're on the planet right now. And that is a real key ingredient to how successful we can be in life. And I know that people define success in so many ways. However, When you're in alignment with your purpose, I know that, things like this, the whole voice being gone, I'm into 2 weeks now, and it's been a challenge for sure. But when you're aligned with your purpose, I know that even now, the strength that I have in my voice is showing up just because of that. And so I'm just so grateful that you're here and that you're going to help us in this conversation of understanding how the heart plays such a huge role in being in alignment with our purpose.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and this whole shift towards a focus on the heart and away from the head is, I know it's what you and Cynthia talk about a lot, and it's kind of a more general shift. I mean, I think the three of us are all very aware of changes that are going on the planet on a more let's say spiritual level, and we feel, I keep coming across people just in what appears to be a random fashion. I just keep bumping into people who will suddenly start having these more spiritual conversations. I mean, in the most unlikely places, in a bank, going in to talk about money, and we end up talking about how people should be trying to do more good in the world and this sort of thing. And it's a general shift that I'm sensing, and that I think we're all a part of, and these conversations are certainly a part of. So yeah, really looking forward to expanding on that.
Yeah, I love how we're talking about how all of a sudden you're having this conversation that actually is in your heart, because your heart is actually what attracts exactly what is looking for you or wanting to speak, to that point that we are feeling within inside our hearts. As I've said in the past, about the heart, that it's 60 times more amplified than any part of the body and 5,000 times electromagnetic. Now that's what we can measure. That's in the measurement of, what in the physical that we are able to measure. But really, they're showing that the heart reaches beyond that, and it actually connects to everything, even out into the cosmos, to the sun, everything. And we're all in alignment with the earth and each individual person. So if we have, if there's discordant energy out there that's not in alignment with your own energy, what you're going out there, so aligning with your purpose, that's exactly what the heart helps you do. It helps you align with those people who are in that same frequency, and it aligns with your purpose, that you're out there, your purpose, you're out there showing up, and you get the people who come to attract to you and start speaking about the conversations that you'd like to speak with about. Mm-hmm. So that's how that all works. So I'm loving that you brought that point up, and it's really important to understand how much the heart really connects with your purpose, with who you are.
Yes, it does. It does all the time, doesn't it? And a big part of what I do is, I have 5 steps which I've kind of come up with to help people getting clear about their purpose. And the first one, although it doesn't mention the heart per se, it's really it's the first step is go within and connect with your higher self. And perhaps I should be a little bit more specific about this, because connect with your higher self, it's connecting with whatever part of you, I call it your soul sometimes, it's the part of you that links to the divine. And of course, a lot of the meditations that I do, they focus, we breathe into the heart, because that's where your connection is. If we think of the 7 chakras that we have, then the heart is in the middle of those 7 chakras. It's in between the physical world and the more mental, emotional, spiritual world, which is the upper ones, the upper chakras. It's right there in the middle, and so to me it's an obvious kind of center to focus on, and I love being able to do that and just invite. And people say, well, how do you do this? What do you mean breathe into your heart? You can't breathe into your heart. Well, and all I mean anyhow when I'm saying that is, as you're breathing, because we all breathe, we're either most of us most of the time breathe unconsciously, But if we just start doing things with a little bit more awareness, and as you're breathing in, just follow the breath into your body as it goes in your nose or your mouth, and follow it down, and just feel that it's going into your heart. Breathe into your heart space, not your physical heart. It's more your heart space, isn't it? That we're talking about. And as you know, and you're the person who is you have the focus on the heart all the time. But I just think that's a great way to start. And there's no wrong way to do it. If you're thinking about your heart, which of course has us thinking about love, and in particular, love for other people and how we can expand that out, then that is a really great place to start. So just to go back to my step one, go within. Yes, it means going within your physical body, being aware of the breath going in, but also on a different level, go within yourself. Yes, within your mind, but don't get stuck in your head trying to work it out logically, whatever it is you're trying to do. Try to focus on the feeling and what feels good to you. That's the way that I would explain it, let's say.
I love that.
Me too. I do. For me, I see the air that we breathe, knowing that it's the life fluid for all that sustains us. If we don't have oxygen, we don't have life. And seeing it even as it goes into the lungs, knowing that the lungs go directly to the heart, and that the heart has a place to take that oxygen to feed the rest of our body. And I know one of the things that I learned from Cynthia was that the heart is the central communicator with the rest of the body, with the brain, with every extremity, with all of our organs. And when I think about the beauty of the heart and the nourishment that the heart provides to the entire body, it's the thing that really we must consider first and foremost. We talk a lot about self-care, and there are a lot of ways to do self-care, and it has finally kind of reached me that self-care really is what begins in the heart and comes out from the heart as to how you take care of yourself. And that brings in all of the things that we're talking about, the aligning, coming to know your purpose. But in all of that too, knowing that part of your purpose journey is forgiveness, is gratitude, is love expressed. And I love your 5 steps, because in starting in this space, you really get to start in a place that's grounded, that's centered, that helps you to see what the possibilities are going forward.
Yeah, and it is also about self-care, and it's about giving yourself the time to do this. I was just talking with some ladies over the weekend and saying how, this self-care aspect is so important, because it really is a reflection of what kind of esteem we hold ourselves in. If we don't hold ourselves in high esteem, then we can't really hope to go out and make much of a difference with other people. We have, it's not selfish to say we have to put ourselves first in that particular aspect. I think we have to look after ourselves and be conscious of the fact that self-care, as you say it, and that can mean, giving yourself 10 minutes a day in the morning to meditate. Take 10 minutes out of your busy day. It's carving out that time to have the reflection, to set the tone for your day. That really makes such a difference. And once you've got yourself, as you said, in that lovely centered space, then you can, in a sense, radiate out from your heart, and whatever you go out to do in the world can come from that place. But if you don't, if you start your day off by and miss out on the meditation, I'm just speaking for myself, this is what happens. If I, for example, oversleep, because my sleeping patterns have been quite disrupted recently. I think it's all these changes that are going on the planet, but sometimes I don't have time, or I don't make the time. I'll correct myself. I always have time. I don't make the time always to do that short meditation in the morning. Then I often feel there's something, I'm a little off kilter all day. There's just, until I stop and do it, it's just that feeling something's not quite right. And I'm becoming very sensitive to it now because I have focused on it a lot, and I've spent a lot of time working on it. But you have to start where you are, so for anyone listening, wherever you happen to be, just decide to start. If you haven't tried meditation, or if you don't do it regularly, give yourself that gift. Just give yourself that, even 5 minutes in the morning, 5 or 6 minutes in quiet contemplation can make such a difference, because it sets the tone for your day. And I know I'm going back to this, but I do love to do the kind of connecting meditation where we have the heart in the center, breathing into the heart, but connecting down to the earth through the physical, kind of acknowledging our physical presence that we walk in on this earth, and up to our higher self and to the divine, and to have that connection and that guidance, and then move it all into the heart, and then from the heart we can expand out to everyone that we come into contact with and everything that we do. It's a deliberate process, but I think this whole becoming aware of your purpose involves becoming more aware in what you do and doing things more deliberately. Because I speaking for myself, when I was just I wouldn't say just existing, but not doing anything particularly on purpose, then things just, you're at the effect of what happens rather than consciously creating what you want to happen in whatever you happen to be engaged in. So it has, going within and connecting with your higher self, for me it's a great way to start the day, and it has like kind of a knock-on effect for the whole of your experience.
Yeah, I would say that brings more self-awareness when it comes down to moving into that place of purpose. And that when you talk about breath, breathing into yourself, actually when we breathe, what we're breathing in is information also, because one of our oldest senses is smell. Smell is always what told us what was coming, and it goes, and it's the one thing, aroma or oxygen, that flows through the blood-brain barrier. That's the deepest part of us that it goes to. So that moves into the blood-brain barrier. That means it goes into the blood, and that's why how we oxygenate the blood, and it passes through the heart. So all that is information coming in about ourselves. And then we're letting go when we exhale out. So when we exhale out, 70% of our toxins come out through our breath. So when we're inhaling in, make sure you're inhaling in wonderful information, that you're in gratitude that you have that oxygen to breathe. That's our life source energy, as you were saying. And then also when we expand our lungs, it massages our heart. And so you, like you said there, feeling, just really feel what information is coming in, the feeling that it gives you. And you'll know whether you're in a safe place or in a dangerous place or an uncomfortable place. And listen to those messages that our senses give and that breath gives you. So I love that what you're starting people out with, and finding that time for ourselves, to get into a place where we can receive more self-awareness and begin to really love who we are.
Yeah, and I didn't know that about the fact that when we breathe, it massages our heart. When you think about it, it's pretty obvious because it's right in the same place, isn't it? But I wasn't actually aware of that. So I just love this whole process. We learn more stuff about this every day, and so that's a physical reason why it's good for you to breathe deeply and exhaling. I didn't know we had that many toxins going out. I've recently come across a new breathing practice, because I like to play with different breathing practices, that I've learned in my yoga class. But I recently came across one where you breathe in for 3 and out for 5. And so it's not a balanced breath, which is often, cited as being a very calming breath to get you, in a meditative state. This is more deliberate, but I think the idea is you breathe in as deeply as you can on the count of 3, and then really have a jolly good exhale to the count of 5. So you're breathing out for longer than you breathe in. I can see Cynthia trying it now. I don't know. And that makes sense, because that's getting rid of all, any toxins that might be sort of lingering in your system there. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'd like to add, so when you did that, it's really important. What is the problem these days with breathing is we take for granted that we breathe. And a lot of people become very toxic because we're not aware that we're not breathing deeply and we're not exhaling out. And a lot of times people, they're forcing the breath. If they do think about the breath, every time when I do my hands-on work and do massage and I get people into the breath, they're like they're pushing it out, and what we do is we end up pushing the toxins back into our body. So it's really important to use, just like you said, finding a breath that you're comfortable with. Those 3 breaths in, go through the nose, and do the breath. That's an end of the day breath. It's letting those toxins out. A lot of people become very toxic because they're not breathing fully and exhaling out. Also, the breath balances the body, the pH of the body. When we inhale in alkalinity. And when we exhale out acidity. Those are those toxins. So the breath puts us in homeostasis when we're breathing fully. These days, many people do not breathe fully. They're not focused on the breath. They don't understand how important it is because it's automated. It's the autonomic nervous system. It's automated, so we take for granted, and we have no thought in it. So that's why a lot of these new, like yoga coming in really strong, Pilates, certain things like that are really focused on the life source energy of the breath. And bringing that knowledge in with the breath is so important, and important to the purpose of what we're here for, because that breath is so important.
Well, it is part of it. Sorry, it is, and what you're making me think of there is that you're saying, well, one thing is, thank goodness that that breathing is all automatic, and we don't have to consciously think every second of the day, because heck, that would be a bit of a job, wouldn't it? But it also means that we don't, and so we do it automatically, perhaps not effectively. And the reason people don't breathe effectively is a lot of the time because of stress. People are overstressed, and that just shortens the breath and makes it a very shallow breath. I often say in the meditations I do, observe your breath. Where are you breathing to? And I know myself, when I've had a hectic day and I've been running around, I'll suddenly realize I'll just take a minute to check, and I'm only breathing, say, to the level of my collarbone, which is really, right up here. It's only going really short breaths, and that's not helping you at all. So it's really important to do that. But there are other things that we can do to address the stress, if you like. And that rhymes. I hadn't thought of that before. Other things to address the stress, and I think another thing that we can look at, if I may move on to the second step, is more of a mental thing, which is. And it's to do with self-belief. We talked about what esteem we hold ourselves in, but believing that change is possible for you. Believe you can change, because we know, if we've been around for a while, we know that change happens all the time. I love that quotation, and I don't have it exactly in my head, but it's the one thing that you can rely on, that things are going to change, that they're not going to stay the same. And I think particularly where we are in the 21st century, things are changing at such a rapid rate around us in just what's happening in daily life and in all sorts of areas of life, that to be able to deal gracefully with change has to be a really, I would say, underrated life skill. And if you've decided that you don't like where you are and you want to make some kind of a change in your life, then you have to believe that that's going to work for you. You have to have a sense that, yeah, I can do this. Of course I can. And so my second step is believe change is possible. And I always add, for you, and allow yourself to dream, which is, brings us on to the big, let's dream big. Let's just have a huge vision for what our ideal life would be. And again, this comes down to giving yourself the time, believing you're worth investing the time in to make this change. Because if you don't, and you just get caught up in the everyday life and the rushing around and looking after the family and going to work and doing this and doing whatever your responsibilities are, you can get lost and you can not have that time. You have to really carve out and make a conscious and aware decision that you're going to spend that time, reflecting, thinking about what you want your life to look like. Is this how I want to be? Okay, this is how it is at the minute. What would I like to change? What would I like to move towards? And so it's becoming aware of that in a more conscious way, so we can, start to move in that direction. So that's my second little step, which is, helps people get clearer about their purpose. I don't know if that relates to anything.
Well, it sounds like you're, really helping people understand the choices that they have. That's what change is.
Yeah.
It's us making choices and doing something different or choosing to do it the same way. But either way, it's a change. Just a thought is a change. A movement is a change. People are that's everything in motion. Every energy in motion. That's what we are. We're completely energy in motion, and we never, ever stay the same. Not even in 1 millisecond do we stay the same. So, change, a lot of people, like you said, fear change. And I say, if you fear change, then you're fearing who you are. Because we are.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to add to that too that it goes perfectly with your first step, because the first level of change is awareness when you're choosing change. And a lot of people will say, I don't like change, I hate change, because they don't allow themselves to choose change. Instead, they put themselves into reacting to change in things, because things change, just as you've said. You're looking at something's going to show up differently. How are you going to deal with it? Versus you saying, I know that things change, and because of that, I'm choosing either to be accepting of this or not, and choosing something differently. But at first, you have to have that awareness. You have to awaken to the awareness that all of these things that you just talked about, Cynthia, change happens. It's inevitable. When they say change is inevitable, something else is...
Progress is not.
Yes.
That's it. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you.
Yeah.
We got there.
And that is what puts us in the place of choice, choosing what we would like to see, what we would rather see. And in that choosing, then taking that next step, which is probably your next step, since this flows so beautifully.
Well, it is, and I just want to sort of make a little bridge to the next step by just making a comment on what you said about fear. That yes, if you are living from fear, then you are living in a kind of a contracted way, and you're not expressing the fullness of who you are. If you're afraid of change and you want to hang on to how things have always been, then you're not really allowing yourself, you're not giving yourself permission to move forward into the next iteration of whoever you're going to be, are you? You're staying back. And I think fear is, I think a lot of the negative emotions, for me, they can all kind of be whittled down and go right down to fear. I think it's fear is the negative one for me, and love and faith which may be almost interchangeable, are the positive ones. And all the other emotions that we feel, for me, are kind of gradations of that continuum, of the shift between fear and faith. And the next step, as you invited me to move to step 3, which is finding your passion and purpose. How do we do this? We do it by paying attention to the emotions that we feel, to the signals that we get from, I would contend, from your higher self, from the part of you that knows what's right for you and what is your what your purpose is. It's giving you nudges all the time and little hints about, yes, you're on track. This feels good equals you are on track. It's really that simple. This doesn't feel good. Maybe you want to look at the choice you just made or the situation that you're in. If it doesn't feel good, there's a reason for that, like you've both mentioned, earlier in this conversation. So it's about becoming more aware of what makes you feel good, and gives you that sense of I'm in the right place, and this what I'm doing at the moment, whatever it happens to be, whether it's a conversation with someone or I don't know, an interview like this, or a workshop, or just any kind of interaction, whatever feels good to you is going to be part of your list of, say, passions, and then they lead you to your purpose. So if you start to pay attention to what gives you positive emotions, then you can move into make that choice, and when you do have to make a decision, choose that way. Become aware of what those things are that are right for you. They're kind of the clues, in a sense, to move you along your path to purpose. What do you love to do? There are certain things, lots of different exercises we can do to get clear about your passions, but just an overview would be, just think of the things that really give you joy. What kind of things do you do that you lose sense of time of when you're involved in them? You kind of lose track of time. That's a good clue. Or what gets you really fired up about, and that might be about something, a cause that you're really involved with, or it could be standing up for other people, for some, for people who can't stand up for themselves, that really gets you fired up. All of these little things are kind of clues, as I say, along your path to purpose, and the kind of things that you are passionate about. So getting clearer about your passions will lead you to your purpose. And just a couple of words about purpose, because we could have an hour-long philosophical discussion about what purpose is. Some people say your purpose is to be the best version of who you are, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That also is quite a vague description, and for me, I think your purpose, it's who you are expressing itself. It's what comes through you to contribute to the world. So it's what you feel an urge to share with other people and help them with, and maybe you want to express it. Throughout your life, I don't think that you'll express it the same way necessarily. I think there'll always be a kind of a basis which is the same for you, but how you actually manifest that or express it can change, in the way it looks from the outside on a superficial level. So it's being clearer about what the motivation is and what gets you going, really, what you are passionate about. So that's the sort of the step 3, the getting clearer. And as you may notice, there's kind of a theme going through this conversation, which is about raising your level of awareness around all these questions, and living more deliberately and doing things more purposefully, which help you to get clearer about these. So that's step 3 for for the 5 steps.
So beautifully shared, and there's a couple of things in there that really, like you said, your purpose being who you are, but there's that other part that really helps you express who you are. You're getting out there and expressing it. I love that you spoke to that. And then you were talking about the fire that's within you and the feeling, and I always say no feeling, no healing, and that's how we become more aware of who we are. Feeling is about information coming into our emotions. We're feeding our emotions with what we feel, is information coming in. So this morning before I got on the show, I have a book. I always ask the divine for information that might show up in some of my books I have surrounding me all the time. And I have a beautiful book, and I think this speaks to what you just brought up, but it's called God is Mother, and it's by Victoria Jennings, and she writes about a woman who did some incredible things, Maria Bauer. Anyways, one of the things that I'm going to quote from, which kind of I think fits in from what you were saying. So it says, "Love is not love unless it is alive in action. For only by going through the action of love itself can we build the intensity, the crucible that carries the heat of love's divine fire that exalts the evolution of our being." Wow.
Gorgeous. Yeah. Beautiful.
Into our purpose. And you were talking about that heat, that fire that comes up in us, that we want to express, our purpose, who we are, what we're really showing up here to contribute, the contribution that we're making. And that's kind of what I heard from you. And so all of a sudden I went, oh my God, what I read this morning, I got to share that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yes, and it just fits so well with what the whole conversation is about, really. Yes, you do have to. We can do lots of things. We're very talented as 21st century human beings. We can learn to do all sorts of things and do them well. But unless you've got that, well, I'll just use the term usually, that fire in your belly, that kind of that passion that motivates you and keeps you going, it's going to be lacking in some way, isn't it? You're not going to have that sort of that inner push to express what it is you really want to be doing. So, and you can tell it when people are talking about it, because suddenly their eyes start to light up, and they might start gesticulating madly like I usually do. I have to sit on my hands sometimes to stop doing that. But when people really get on purpose, they do. You can see it in their body language, in their eyes, and they're expressing from their heart at that point, aren't they, Cynthia?
Yeah. And I think it's because they remove the stress. The stress gets removed, the fear gets removed, because all of a sudden they're finding that comfort level. They're resonating. Their hearts are connected to that person who they're connecting with. All of a sudden they find their harmony. I call it heartmonics. They come in harmony with other people's hearts and their own, and they can express more freely because they feel safe in expressing who they are. They don't feel like they have to be in fight or flight, or that they have to be defensive, or they have to have excuses or whatever. They can just be in their truth.
That's right. The resistance has gone, hasn't it? And when the resistance goes, then fear goes as well. And
yes.
And yet, what happens a lot of the time, and this sort of leads into my next step, if that's okay with you two, which is that when you start to make changes and you start making these positive choices and you start moving in the direction of your purpose, then guess what? All these little obstacles, or maybe they're big obstacles, these things start to show up because you are making a change, and suddenly you get this little voice here, the little ego voice, the monkey mind saying, oh no, I don't think so. I don't think you should be doing that. Or, who do you think you are to be, fill in the blank? You're much too, again, old, young, fat, thin, smart, dumb. You pick your word, really. All of these things start showing up, and we have to acknowledge that that's our I call it the ego mind, the voice of the ego, the voice of doubt, the voice of separation from you know, your truth, who you really are, the authentic you. And so we have to address that, because if we don't address these fears and these issues that come up that have probably blocked us all the way through our life, wherever we happen to be now, if they're still showing up, then we've not dealt with them in my book. And so my step 4 is about identifying and releasing these limiting beliefs and blocks. So it's about being aware and catching that little, watch your self-talk, watch the little monkey mind and see what it's saying to you. But instead of going immediately into resistance, which sort of sets up a conflict, situation, which again is contracted and takes you down that negative path, then just if you can receive this message and just say, that's interesting. Thank you for that. And you can dialogue with the part of you that is speaking that, but become aware of what it is that is stopping you in your tracks, stopping you from moving forward. Allow it to come up, and then once it's clear, because very, very often all of these blocks, have been set there, have been programmed into us when we were very, very small, when we were younger than 7 years of age. So they're just a subconscious part of how we function. And I'm sure you've come across the numbers, and they do keep changing them, these scientists, but I've come across numbers where it says the conscious mind is actually only 5% of what we are about, and the subconscious mind is running 95% of the show. So all the things that we were programmed with, as children, that we picked up as very young children, and that we have, come to believe since then, are part of our subconscious programming, which we need to bring into awareness. We need to catch it when it pops up into our conscious mind and say, oh, that's interesting. Instead of just, reacting and going against it, bring it into awareness and say, I wonder where that came from. And there are various ways you can work, to try to become more aware. I mean, I favor EFT and work of that nature, emotional freedom techniques, or tapping, which is a very effective way of getting rid of the negative emotions, and also you can reprogram the more positive things in their place. But I think the main point here is to allow these negative blocks to come up, so that we can recognize them, so we can actually see them, and then look at them and say, that's where you came from. Okay, well, you've been around with me for 45 years now, or 50 years now, or whatever it happens to be. Well, thank you for looking after me, but actually I'm going to take over now, so just we can work on it like that. So it's all, for me, it's all about bringing this stuff into conscious awareness and dealing with it. And that can be very emotional, because if there are things that have, we've reacted to emotionally all our lives, they're not going to go away overnight, but they do need to, sustained, focused, what can I say? I wouldn't say treatment, therapy, love. Sorry?
Change that happens because you continue to work on something. It's like, building those muscles. You don't do it in a day. It takes time. Sure. And that's the same thing that you're talking about. And I love how you brought that up, because one of the things that I was reminded of not too very long ago from my shaman mentors, the Taltrees. Chief Robert Taltree made this statement, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's so profound. And it is, in fact, exactly what you talked about, how the subconscious mind really does become the servant to do what it thinks is the right thing, the best thing for us, when we've actually been programmed with all these negative things. And that's where it's going to keep us, because it understands how to be uh, working on our behalf. And so what Robert Taltree said was, the mind is a powerful servant and a terrible master. And
Yes.
when you said, we really want to bring ourselves to mastering the subconscious mind, and the fact that it does not happen overnight, being in the realm of understanding that if it is like a muscle that requires strengthening, once you hit it and it starts to, really fire back, it's saying, I'm awake to this, now what? And I totally agree that tapping is a beautiful way to bring that, fire that. It's like firing up the kiln, but then it has to warm up. And while change can be immediate, some things can melt in nanoseconds, where other things take time to actually melt down. Mm-hmm. And when we know that our subconscious mind has really been put in place to be the servant, to be the thing that helps us to take care of ourselves, yet what we've learned in some respects has been just the opposite. Making that shift, I think, really helps when you know that the mind is a powerful servant and a terrible master. And what we want to take back is the mastery. Mm-hmm. Being the master and the commander of our own ship, our own vessel, yet doing that in alignment with our higher self and our purpose. We've actually given our subconscious mind the ability to serve us in that higher state of being. And so I love this identifying, releasing those limited beliefs, and supporting those positive and empowering beliefs, because we know something like what this statement is. The mind is a powerful servant. How will you have it to serve you? Versus the mind is a terrible master. Help it to help you to be the master at that higher, best self. That's beautiful, Aileen.
Yeah, that's a lovely way to put it. Yeah. Sorry, Cynthia. Go on.
No, I said thank you. Yeah, I really am loving this. Are you ready to go on to your fifth step?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, ready for it. I'm like, what's she going to bring to us next?
Yeah, that brings us to step 5, which really, as you might guess, it's a kind of bringing it all together. So my step 5 it's called Into Action, Start Walking the Path. And really, it's an invitation to start making some baby steps, start making some small changes, guided by the vision that you've created for yourself through, doing some visioning and dreaming exercises. And when you're in the middle of all of this kind of work, if you're in a workshop or you're at a group talking about this, it's very easy to stay focused and think in that whole area. But the most difficult thing is when you go back home and then you're not with like-minded people, and you're not actually having the conversations as many times as you would like. And so for me, step 5 is about really developing a daily practice that supports yourself in staying grounded and staying centered, in keeping you on track with the different things that the different changes you want to make. And they've done a lot of research on creating new habits, and depending on which piece of research you read, it can take between 21 and 30 days to create a new daily habit, so that something that you do automatically. Now, think about when you start driving a car. I suppose everything is very, very conscious and very deliberate, and you have to really think about, okay, so now I well, in the UK we use cars with a shift. You call it a shift stick, right? They're not most cars aren't automatic, so it's about changing gear and so it's coordinating the clutch and the moving this and the accelerator, and And now I get into a car and I don't even think about that. That part of it is, I might be listening to the radio, I might be talking to someone. It's been more than 30 days since I started driving, obviously, but you know, when you first start, it takes that time. So I think it's great to start and create a daily practice for yourself. You know, which for me would include that quiet time in the morning, the meditation, the reflection. There are all sorts of other things you can do, like journaling, or even, you know, deciding to take part of your lunch break as a walk out in the park closest to wherever your office is if you live in a city. I mean, those of us who live in more rural areas, we have an easier time of it because, for example, I can walk out of my door and I live in a small town, but I'm right next to the river, so I can just go along there and I'm right amongst the trees, the park. It's great. But making that sort of decision, and it's making a conscious decision to do this and to make some changes, which may seem small, but we don't want to make massive changes because they're harder to maintain and to keep on track with. So I kind of favor the baby step approach, small incremental changes that build on each other and you know, help you to stay on track. And the other thing is that for me, it's a very personalized thing, so it will be different for each person. So I'm sure my daily practice, it might be similar to Cynthia's and to yours, Lynn, but there'll be differences, you know, and everyone else's, and we have to respect that because we're all different, which is great. You know, yes, at one level we are all one, and I do believe that we are connected, as Cynthia tells us. But also, you know, we function in this, you know, this separate body on the planet, and we have our own ideas, and so whatever we want to do, it has to work for us. So I like to bring in that, you know, that personal choice in the development of this daily practice, and I really like that. It's a fun part, you know, helping people to decide what they would like to do and you know, how they can be supported. You know, you can bring in things like an accountability partner to check in with a couple of times a week, or that sort of thing. I mean, they're all sorts of different, and I'm sure you both have lots of things you could contribute, ideas that people can use for that sort of thing as well. But that's my fifth step. So it's not any more, it's not anything different. It's really putting things into practice, because it's great learning about new stuff, but it's about actually doing them, you know, moving into action and starting to do the things.
I love that. And sometimes, you know, even when you are in a space where you learn these tools and you learn the systems, sometimes you just need help doing it as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about you, Aileen. You have this beautiful way of helping people to take this journey from even questioning purpose. Am I really living my purpose? Or I don't even know what it is. Take them through this process. And why don't you give our audience an opportunity to come to understand what it is that you do? And I know you've brought an invitation to join you in this process. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it, and then we'll tell our audience how they can connect a little more closely with you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Well, what I do is I help people to, you know, work through these 5 steps wherever they happen to be. You know, we all start in a different place. So I start off with a little kind of an assessment. It's not hard. It's not a difficult thing to do. But I have a membership site which is called Path to Purpose, and it helps people to get this kind of connection with others who are on the same track and who are making the same changes that you are. So it's an online community called Path to Purpose, and in that we have weekly live calls where one person gets to sit on the chair of change, because you've decided you want to make some changes. So you get to sit on the chair of change, and I will take you through the 5 steps that we've just been discussing but as they apply to you, to your situation, whether that's a personal situation, or whether it's to do with, you know, some changes you want to make in your life, and help you get clearer about your purpose, so that wherever you move from there, you will be moving from a place that is more aligned. You are more aligned with your purpose. So we have the weekly calls. Sometimes those are interviews with experts in the field of personal development, because I've done quite a few of those and learned from many great names in the personal development field. And we have, you'll also get a one-on-one strategy session with me. So the call, the Chair of Change, is on a weekly live coaching call, whereas the strategy session is a one-on-one time with me, again, to go through your, you know, where you are in regard with the 5 steps and where you need to be, and help with that. So what I would like to offer anyone listening to the call today, any of your community, is a 30-day free trial to my membership site, to Path to Purpose. And I believe you have a link, Lynn, or we'll put a link in the community afterwards.
And we will be putting the link in the comments area. It is bit.ly, bit.ly/AWYP, align with your purpose, AWYP. So thank you, Aileen. Cynthia, you have anything else you want to add to this?
Well, I am just feeling so blessed to be here with Aileen, and also my co-host and Heart Venture partner, Lynn Hawkins. So we have definitely are building wisdom through experience here, because Aileen just brought us a lot of experience with aligning with your purpose and really teaching you how you can get to that point. And she has so much more to offer you, so please come take her up on that offer that she has for you, because, you know, it's there's so much benefit and value in it. And we always talk about, you know, value to value relationships. That's what we're bringing here on Adventures of the Heart, building wisdom through experience. We are building that wisdom so that you can have a value to value relationship. You know, not only with, you know, others who are in your life, because that's what it's going to do. It's going to help you have a better relationship with yourself and with the people that you love in your life. This is what it's all for. That's why our hearts are in this show that we have here, is because we want to help each individual have that experience, to be able to take that action that you've been looking on. How can I do that? Who can help me? Well, we're bringing all kinds of people here, and today this is one, Aileen. This is who I am. You know, I spend, you know, we work together. Our hearts are connected. We share in what we do, and we're just really grateful that we have this opportunity. So thank you, ladies, both of you. Just wonderful wisdom that you brought here, and I look forward to more coming in. And I'm just going to say, leave with, since we were talking about the breath in the very beginning, breathe deep into your heart and love yourself more today than you did yesterday.
Thank you, Cynthia. That's beautiful. Thank you both for having me. I've really enjoyed it today. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Any last words for our audience?
No, really just start by becoming a little bit more aware of what you're doing and how aligned you actually feel. Just what's your gut feeling? If you think, how aligned am I with my purpose? What is my purpose? Do I know what that is? Just get a sense, and that's a starting point that we can move forward from. So that's what I'd like you to do. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Aileen. Thank you for being here with us today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Remember, we are here weekly, Thursday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern, with Adventures of the Heart, building wisdom through experience. My co-host, Cynthia Gardner-O'Neill, and I, Lynn Hawkins, want to say thanks, and we will see you again soon. Remember, open hearts, and we want to see your open heart here again next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.